Hello, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on The Pendulum, our weekly political program on Lagos television. I am Ajibola Ojeshola. Since the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, released the timetable for the 2027 general elections, most political parties are already putting their house in order ahead of the elections in 2027. And that of course, is why we are seeing different political parties here and there having their national conventions. Some have equally had their state congresses prior to their national convention. So major political parties in the country are already preparing for the 2027 general elections. Of course, we saw that of the PDP happened over the weekend. And of course, before that of the PDP, the All Progressive Congress equally had its fourth national elective convention in the Federal Capital Territory. And of course, the chairman of the party was returned, as well as some other executives of the party, including the National Secretary of the party, Barrister Bashiru Ajibola. So this afternoon, we'll be reviewing the major takeaways from the just concluded National Convention of the APC. What were the lessons learned during this convention? And then the idea of adopting consensus candidates during the convention, why was that so? And does that give the impression that everything is in order regarding the party structure of the APC? So that will be the major discussion on the program this afternoon. Major takeaways from the just concluded convention of the All Progressives Congress. Although some parties are still having crises here and there, we saw what played out yesterday. The ruling of the court saying that the national chairman of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, which is now claiming or positioning itself to be the major opposition party in the country, saying that the national chairman, that's the former Senate President, David Mark, and the national secretary of the party, the former governor of Osun State, Rauf Aregbesola, their names were removed from the portal of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And so for now, they will not be recognized as the national chairman as well as the national secretary of the African Democratic Congress. So, and there are insinuations here and there that coming from the opposition now, which is the ADC, suspecting that it is the ruling party, which is the APC, that is behind all the major crises that we are seeing in all the other political parties in the country. It is an insinuation, and the party, of course, which is the APC, has denied the allegation, saying that they should go and learn the rudiment of playing politics and put their house in order. And people are asking questions that if the ADC cannot put its house in order, how then does the party intend to put the country together if eventually they get to wrestle power from the APC? So that's our topic of discussion this afternoon. Once again, we'll take a very quick break to bring you a summary of happenings in the polity in the country. We'll be right back. Yeah, thank you for staying with us on The Pendulum, our weekly political program on Lagos television. There you saw some of the trending news in the polity as we prepare for the 2027 general elections. During the course of the week, we equally saw the major political bigwig in the NNPP, talking about the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwanso, also moving from NNPP into ADC. And then there was a question people did ask when he crossed carpet to the ADC that with all the legal litigations before the ADC, would Alhaji Rabiu Kwankwanso be able to realize his political ambition of being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And now, like I said earlier, INEC won't recognize David Mark as the chairman of ADC anymore. Likewise, Rauf Aregbesola as the national secretary of the party. A lot of things are happening as we prepare for the next elections. And Nigerians on their part, they're also waiting to see how they can use their votes to vote out those who made certain promises in 2023 and were not able to keep up to those promises come 2027. We also want to use this medium to advise those who are usually in the habit of trading their vote for a stipend, for foodstuff, for a token from the politician to have a change of mind, so that when you elect people into office, you'll be able to demand good governance from them. But in case you have traded your votes, then how would you have the confidence to ask questions or question your lawmakers or councillors or chairmen or governors or members of state or national assembly if they are not performing up to your expectations? So we expect those eligible voters that will be qualified to vote in 2027 to take a lesson from what happened in 2023 by valuing their vote. We'll take another quick break. When we come back, my guest will be joining us to take a look at the major takeaways of the just concluded APC convention in Abuja. He was also there and he participated effectively in the just concluded convention of the APC. My guest this afternoon is Dr. Akeem Adetububo, is an APC chieftain right here in Lagos State. So we'll go on another short break. When we come back, our conversation on the just concluded APC convention will be starting. Yes, joining us at this moment on the Pendulum is Dr. Akeem Adetububo, is an APC chieftain, and he equally participated effectively in the just concluded APC convention in Abuja. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So tell us, I know that we had the Southwest Congress of your party before the national convention of the party, and of course we had the state congress, world and local government congresses as well. So building up to that national convention, what were the things that the party did to ensure that the outing at the national convention was smooth?
Well, it's just a reflection of how cohesive our great party is. I mean, you're already a politician. Because
I'm not a politician.
Because for you to know all this process. I mean, for us to have gone from the ward, state, ward, local government, state, regional to national, to elect all our officers that would actually participate in the election of the contestants of party candidates for the various elective posts in the party. So I must congratulate every members of APC that have done a very good job. It's a good job you have done.
Okay, but people have criticized the method adopted by your party, which was consensus. Ordinarily, the national convention should have been an elective convention, but what we saw played out was consensus. You returned your chairman, national secretary, and a host of others, and people feel that that process is not democratic.
Well, we are still within the confine of the law. The law is either you do consensus or direct primaries. I mean, far away from the normal indirect primary that was the inglorious indirect primary. So for this elective post, our great party has announced that all the elective posts go through direct, no consensus. That's the news I'm bringing down to you here.
All right. So apparently, when you look at the Electoral Act of 2026 as amended by the National Assembly, and of course signed into law by Mr. President, one can see that most political parties are racing ahead of time, working together with the INEC timetable. So now that you have concluded your national convention, but okay, before I even go to that question, what were the lessons learned at the just concluded national convention of your party that will put it in such a way that there will be no crisis in deciding on who becomes what for your elected positions in 2027 elections? Because that's usually the crisis with major parties in the country.
Yeah, you know, the national, the local, the ward, local, state, and national officers are actually supposed to conduct the elections at all those various levels. So you could really appreciate the cohesiveness we had. Even if we are talking about that we did consensus, did you hear, was there any backlash? There's no backlash.
There's one from Rivers, Fubara.
One out of 36 states. And Fubara, Wiki had a peculiar issue, which for every situation, that's it.
Is Wiki a member of a party?
I said Fubara, I never see Wiki never said he's a member of a party.
Okay.
But Wiki and Fubara, we all know they have their issues. Fubara used to be a member of PDP. He just moved to our party. And of course, there will be some resistance because the party members in APC
that he met on ground.
That he met on ground would want to resist him a bit. It's just natural. And he being the governor and a member of APC, ideally should be the leader of the party. So such is allowable. We've done well as a party.
Okay. So for those who were returned, were those positions of your national working committee evenly spread within the geographical zones of the country?
Yeah, you see, appointing national elect is already been zoned
Okay.
to reflect the 6
Political
geopolitical zones. Some position has been zoned for, okay, our youth. The national youth leader, it has been zoned to Lagos State. That's why Lagos State could produce Dr.
Israel.
Dayo Israel. And that's how it applies to every other. And that is because the national chairman has been zoned to the central,
North Central.
Not central. That's why, and particularly the Plateau State. That's why Nasawali could emerge, Dr. Nasawali could emerge as the national chairman
Okay.
of our great party.
And the national secretary?
Zone as well.
All right. So now that you have concluded your national convention, election is around the corner, and Nigerians will be the one to decide the fate of any party that will return as the president or as governors of the 36 states. Do you think your party has done well for Nigerians to return you back to power?
Well, let's start from the basics. The conventions for other parties and their relationship and or their convention acceptability by the umpire, the INEC, how have they fared? PDP convention, national convention, local, state was a charity. So you need to, your house must be.
But the PDP had theirs immediately after your own.
I said it was a charity.
And INEC has recognized the Wiki faction to be the authentic PDP.
I said it was a charity. ADC, they are still having a lot of conflicting.
That's the party giving your party the run for your money.
How could ADC give us the run for our money when INEC has not even cleared them at the convention? If their house, is not in order, how would they be able to elect electoral officers? I mean, contesting people that are contesting for the election, when these electoral officers are supposed to be those that will organize the elections at the primary levels, from the State House of Assembly to from the gubernatorial, the Senate. So what are we talking about? We don't see them as a party that can contest with us.
So that is making your party happy, thinking that you are going to have its roller coaster come 2027.
No. We have a strategy, and we are watching them, and we are also doing a background strategy. We won't be caught off balance the way we are caught off balance in Lagos State in 2023. We are fully prepared. We know their gimmick, and we are also working against it.
So what are you bringing to the table to convince Nigerians that indeed this should be the party of their choice?
Well, you see, our leader, the president of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had actually, when you go back to the campaign period in 2023, you realize that virtually all the 3 contesting candidates promised the same thing that the president did. They all promised they were going to remove subsidy. They promised subsidy removal, dual exchange rate. So basically, it means even if Obi had won or Atiku had won, they will still go through that route. Now, what would have now happen? The good way and the strong way to effectively push the policy, they might not have it as we had. And there's no pain, no gain without pain. So we are actually rerouting the foundation, the mess that has been there for over several decades. So if we just implore that Nigerians should just be a bit more patient with us, not a lot, a bit more patient with us, and to key into the hope agenda of our Mr. President.
So how hopeful should Nigerians be? Because you mentioned the removal of fuel subsidy, which was used by all the three major contestants for the presidential election in 2023, the exchange rate, which has stabilized. But people are taking Mr. President up on a particular matter now. And he also mentioned it during your convention, power supply. If indeed we want to develop as a country, then our power must be steady. Mr. President made that promise, and up until now, Nigeria is still, you know the nickname that they gave the Honorable Minister of Power, Adilabu, the Minister of Darkness.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate that, you see, the power issue is at the forefront of the banner that should grow our economy. But unfortunately, Nigerians are actually sabotage to Nigeria. I'll take you back to the issue of when they wanted to sell out, privatize the, what's it called, the refineries. The shady deals that went underground actually is a reflection of how thick the sharp practices are within the energy sector. For us to get it right, there has to be a lot of policy fundamental changes, which the presidency is actually doing, so that by the time we hit the ground running, you Nigerians
when do you want to hit the ground running? 4 years is almost over. So when exactly do you intend to hit the ground running? Because he promised that within 6 months he will fix it.
Yeah, you see, there are some things when you are outside that you might actually not be able to understand the in-depth of the problems, the challenges that is facing a particular sector. So being in necessitated the presidency to re-strategize and come out with the right policy that can make the power sector attractive for foreign investors to come in. And so we can move out of the 4,000
megawatts
that we are actually supplying to 200 Nigerians. It's indeed very sad. We take responsibility, but the most important thing is we know where we are going, and we assure Nigerians that we will all get there. I'm proud of the president.
I like the fact that you're taking responsibility for still putting Nigerians in darkness as we speak, because the presidential villa will be off the national grid. So how visible would the solution that you're trying to proffer be? That's on one side. And give it to your party. You have done well in some areas, stabilizing the economy, recapitalization of banks, the exchange rate. But insecurity is still one other challenge that is still facing Nigeria.
Yeah, you see, for us to talk about insecurity, we should understand the historical background of the insecurity. And you see, most of these things are happening from the north, from the core north. One, the Amajiris are core factors. Because, you see, the Amajiris have been highly indoctrinated such that they believe in very few segments of their leaders that are actually taking them. A child you didn't really empower with knowledge, at a point, would actually give those. That's one. Number two, we have most of these militants coming in from Mali, Niger,
The Sahel,
into Nigeria. Unfortunately, there have been issues that some politicians at the time were using them, but all these, having understood all these particular background. So, and we now the military, the defense minister, are actually advocating for non-kinetic and for the community to take
charge.
Because there's no way one or two people will not be able to see or identify strangers. And that's the effective policing that, and of course with this state policing that the federal government is actually having now, you know, by the time it comes to play, it will actually douse the tension of the insecurity, because you cannot have the this federal policing unit and have effective policing.
Okay.
So you should give that to our party, to our president, for actually starting off on the issue of the state policing.
All right, we'll be going on another break right now on the program to bring you the soundbite of the week, and then the soundbite will be coming from the just concluded convention of the APC, where Mr. President actually spoke and addressed members of the ruling party.
As a part, this convention offers us the platform to renew our bond, strengthen our resolve, and recommit ourselves to the ideas that brought us together in the first place. We are united around the shared belief that our country can be greater and better served. That democracy must work for every Nigerian, that leadership must be anchored on vision, discipline, justice, and development.
Let me assure you, we will deepen internal democracy so that every member is heard. We will strengthen our structures so that every process is trusted. We will expand the reach so that the message of renewed hope is felt in every community. We will empower youths because they are not just the future, but they are the huge and important part of our today.
Okay, there you saw Mr. President at the convention ground of the APC, which was concluded recently. He was speaking about leadership and the gains of democracy. What do you make of the statement of Mr. President at that convention, and how does that connect with the renewed hope agenda of this administration?
See, beyond his speech, when you look at the vision, he spoke like someone that actually knows where he was coming from and where he's going to. The direction is there, and is actually early focused to take Nigeria to a greater, to be a greater nation. And you can see how cohesive our great party had been under his leadership. You can see the party internal democracy being strengthened under his leadership. That is how you can see that, yes, the man is actually a great leader that should be likely with such leaders of late Obafemi Awolowo, Mandela, and the likes globally.
So how does that connect with the agenda of this administration?
The hope, you see, the hope agenda, and if you look at his speech on May 29, that was when he said, that was when immediately, you see, whatever he had campaigned on, the speech actually, that speech of May 29, 2023, actually gave us the Nigeria the insight where he's going. And what, I mean, that from, it is a very courageous leader to announce that, yes, I'm going to remove, I mean, not I'm going, subsidy removal is gone. Dollar exchange rate is gone. And we are better off for it now. So that is actually the cross of his agenda, the cross of the trust of the policy direction for his regime. And the other cushioning effect had been what they have been doing. So that the Nigerians, the aftermath suffering will be so much lessened.
All right, this is a fine place to end the conversation this afternoon on the just concluded convention of the APC. And, you know, vis-a-vis what my guest had been able to tell us today, Nigerians will be waiting to decide where the pendulum of victory will swing come 2027 general elections. I've been speaking with Dr. Hakeem Adetubobo, member of the APC, and it was equally at the just concluded APC convention in Abuja. We thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's the show this afternoon. We thank you very much for watching. Do remember to join us next Thursday at 3 p.m. for another interesting topic on the show. I am Ajibola Ojeshola. I'll see you then.